multiple times in this conversation, we've mentioned this concept of health technology assessment. But just for folks, just in case people aren't familiar with what that means, Brian, could you maybe give the simplest answer you possibly could think of? I know it's an incredibly challenging, long process and it's very, very technical, but if you could go give us, what does it mean what does health technology assessment, what does that mean?
It's very cool because one of the things I used to talk about with new employees at Cadith is when you're talking to your loved ones, your friends, your family about what you do, how do you explain it to them? So I asked them all to try and come up with the elevator speech of what health technology assessment is all about. You meet somebody in an elevator, you got 10 floors to try and say what you do without them falling asleep. So Sangmi's talked a little bit about the regulators. So the regulators are extremely important because they provide the marketing authorization. They tell companies whether or not their product can be sold. And they do that through looking at the benefits of that product against a placebo and the harms or the risk. So it's a benefit risk assessment. If there's more benefits than there are risks, that product likely will get an approval from the regulator. But it doesn't tell anybody about the value that that provides to both patients and taxpayers. It doesn't say how much better it is. So that's where health technology assessment comes in. We look at new drugs and existing drugs with new indications, as well as medical devices and diagnostic tests and all kinds of public health aspects. But if we talk about pharmaceuticals, we're looking at comparing that new drug or new indication for the drug against the current standard of practice, the current drugs that are being used to treat whatever condition that is. And we do that by looking at it clinically. We compare it clinically. We compare the harms associated with it versus the current therapies. And we look at the value it provides using this cost effectiveness modeling that we do. And then there's a whole bunch of other things that we also want to incorporate into that recommendation that comes out of the HTA body. We ensure that we engage stakeholders, patients and patient groups, clinicians and clinical groups, industry themselves, the innovators. We look at ethics, we look at policies, all kinds of factors associated with it. But it really is about the comparative effectiveness and comparative cost effectiveness of that new drug or new indication for the drug.